the howl beneath the moon. The fog rolled into Ravenshade early that night, thick and restless, swallowing the crooked town and wrapping the rooftops in whispers. Windows blinked out one by one until only a few golden glows flickered in the mist, fragile against the tide of darkness. The forest watched in silence. Somewhere beneath its canopy, a heart beat faster, not quite human, not quite beast. The night air shivered with a life of its own. Pines bowed in the wind, their branches sighing as though remembering old wounds. The moon climbed, round and pale, spilling its silver through the fog like an omen. In her small cottage, Mira dreamed uneasy dreams. The kind that left her breathing too hard. Flashes of water, of running, of eyes that gleamed gold in the dark. She turned under her blanket, murmuring. Beside her, Abir slept peacefully, one small hand clutching his stuffed wolf, lashes dark against his skin. The storm outside didn't reach him. But it reached her. A sound echoed faintly through the night, a howl, low and distant, deep enough to tremble through her bones. It was not just sound. It was a fee novung, a calling. She woke abruptly, heart racing. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Her mind still half caught in the fog of her dream, she stumbled toward the window. The glass was cold against her fingertips. Outside, the world was drenched in silver and shadow. The forest loomed beyond the field, silent, waiting. Then came movement. A figure fleeting, dark, fast, gone before she could breathe. Mira's pulse quickened. She pressed her palm against the window pane, fee noving the rhythm of her own heartbeat. Just the fog, she whispered, just the wind. But the air felt alive. Somewhere in those woods, Izek stood at the edge of his control. His chest rose and fell with the rhythm of the wild inside him, steady, then shuddering. He could feel her. Every inhale she took, every thrum of her pulse, as if the night itself carried her scent. He had told himself he wouldn't come near her. And yet, here he was, hidden among the trees across the narrow road, watching the faint light of her window. The moonlight brushed over his features, sharp jawline, eyes burning like molten gold. His muscles tensed beneath the weight of restraint. The wolf beneath his skin clawed to be freed. Not out of hunger. Out of something far more dangerous. When her silhouette appeared behind the glass, his breath caught. She looked like she belonged to another world, soft edges, hair tumbling loose, a fragile defiance in the way she stood there against the dark. He remembered the sound of her voice. The way her scent lingered on the breeze, rain, ink, and something he could never name. The beast inside him whispered, "Mine." But Izek pressed his hand against the nearest tree, grounding himself. Bark splintered beneath his grip. He could not let that thought breeze. A sound behind him broke the moment, the crunch of footsteps on wet leaves. Couldn't sleep either. Nova's voice came from the shadows, quiet but knowing. He turned slightly, not taking his eyes off Mira's window. "Go home, Nova. You're watching her." "She's new. I'm making sure she's safe." Nova stepped closer. The fog coiled around her like a living thing. "You're lying to yourself." Izek's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. "She's human, Izek. You can't let yourself." He growled softly, a warning rumble low in his throat. "I know what I can't do." Nova sighed, then stopped looking at her like she's the first sunrise you've seen in 100 years. He turned sharply then, eyes flashing. "You think I don't fight it every second?" Their words hung between them, raw and sharp. Then Nova's expression softened. "You can't protect everyone, not from what we are." "I'm not trying to protect everyone." His gaze returned to the cottage. The next morning, Mira found muddy footprints near her porch, large, like a man, but wrong somehow. Too deep, too wide. She frowned, crouching to touch them. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain over rust. That afternoon, she met Izek again near the general store. He was loading firewood into the back of his truck when he noticed her. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. The small-town noise seemed to fade around them. "Morning," she said finally, trying to sound casual. He nodded. "Morning, Mira." Something in the way, He said her name made her chest tighten. "You heard the howling last night?" she asked. His hand stilled. "Yeah, wolves," he said after a pause. "They come close sometimes." "I didn't think wolves lived this far south." "They do here." His eyes met hers, too steady, too intense. "You should stay inside after dark." She smiled faintly, trying to shake the chill that ran through her. "I wasn't planning on wandering into the woods." He didn't smile back. "Good." A silence stretched between them, thick, charged. The kind of silence that said more than words ever could. Then Abir's laughter broke through it, bright and pure, as he ran up holding a pinecone like a treasure. "Mama, look." Mira laughed softly, knee noving to take it. When she looked back up, Izek's expression had changed, something softer, almost wistful in his eyes. "He's a good kid," he murmured. "Yeah," Mira said quietly. For a moment, the words hung there, fragile, honest. Then Izek nodded once, and something unspoken passed between them. That night, the fog returned. Mira sat by her window, sketching absent-mindedly in her notebook while Abir slept. The quiet felt heavier than usual. Then, a knock. She froze. It wasn't at her door. It came from the wall. A faint de-novaborate tap, once, twice, then silence. Her pulse spiked. She rose, moving slowly to the door, then stepped onto the porch. The air was cold, smelling of pine and smoke. And there he was, Izek, standing at the edge of her yard, hands in his dark gray leather jacket pockets, eyes catching the moonlight like wildfire. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said softly. "Just wanted to make sure you were okay. There's been more movement in the woods lately." "I'm fine," she said, though her voice trembled. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." The words hung between them, quiet but heavy. She didn't know what to say. He didn't either. So they just stood there, the fog swirling around them, the night holding its breath. Then, almost without thinking, she stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him despite the cold. His eyes lowered to hers, molten, conflicted. "Thank you," she whispered. His throat bobbed, his jaw tensing as if holding back words, or something far stronger. When she turned to go back inside, he caught her hand, just for a moment. Their fingers brushed, a single electric touch that felt like fire under the skin. Her breath caught, his did too. Then he let go. She went inside, heart thundering. And outside, Izek stood for a long time, the scent of her still clinging to the night air, his pulse pounding in rhythm with the storm gathering above Ravenshade. The night stretched long over Ravenshade, a tapestry of cloud and quiet wind. While the town slept, Izek sat alone in his cabin, the fire low, shadows crawling up the walls like restless ghosts. Outside, the forest murmured, always alive, always listening. He could feel it breathing with him, the old pulse of the wild that never really went silent. His gaze lingered on the flames, but his thoughts had drifted far from the present, back to the days when the world was sharper, smaller, and infinitely crueler. He hadn't been born a monster. He was a boy once, bare feet in the river mud, laughter tangled with novas as they raced through the pine trails of Ravenshade. Back then, the pack had been whole. His mother's voice was the sound of safety. His father's hand, calloused, warm, had been the anchor that kept the wild inside him steady. They lived at the forest's edge, in an old cabin that smelled of cedar and honey. His mother made bread that always burned at the edges. His father fixed everything that broke, from fences to hearts. And then came the moon. He was 12 the first time it happened, a fever that burned through bone and blood, a scream that didn't sound human. The shift took him whole, snapping ribs and remaking sinew. When he woke, there was blood on his tongue and silence where his parents' voices should have been. His mother had lived. Barely. She bore the scar, 3 long marks that curved from her shoulder to her collarbone, but she never once looked at him with hate. Instead, she held him close and whispered, "It's not the monster that defines you, Izek. It's what you choose to do with it." He had never forgiven himself. Not for the wound. Not for the sound of her scream that night, a sound that still haunted him under every full moon. His father didn't survive long after, not because of Izek, but because the ancient hunters came. Ravenshade had not always been a safe haven for wolves. Once, it was the front line of an ancient war between humans and creatures they didn't understand. Ancient hunters came with silver, power, and strength unexplainable. They called it cleansing. To the wolves, it was slaughter. Izek remembered the fire like a second sunrise, too bright, too cruel. He remembered his mother's hand shoving him into the hollow beneath the floorboards, whispering, "Don't come out, no matter what you hear." He obeyed. He stayed there until the screaming stopped. When dawn broke, smoke curled from the ruins, and the only thing left of his family was the scent of burned pine and sorrow. He wandered after that, part boy, part beast, feral and lost, until he found Nova. The girl in the graveyard. Nova had always been different. Even as a child, she never feared the woods the way other kids did. She talked to the wind as if it listened. She wandered the graveyard behind the church and left wildflowers on forgotten stones. Nova and Izek's story began long before Ravenshade had its quiet peace. Back when Izek was still a feral storm of grief and fury, barely more than a boy trying to cage the beast that lived within him. He met Nova on a night of blood and chaos. He had lost control again. The wolf had taken over, leaving behind wreckage in the woods near the northern ridge. When he came to, trembling and half-shifted under the cold light of the moon, she was there kneeling beside him, her brown hair tangled with leaves, eyes soft but steady. She didn't flinch when he growled or when his claws tore into the earth. She simply said, in a voice as calm as running water, "You're not the monster you think you are. You're just lost." Nova was older than Izek by a few years, a healer by nature, both in the mystical sense and in spirit. Her gift ran deep through her bloodline. She could draw out pain, quiet the rage that burned in others. Her power wasn't brute strength but gentleness, which to Izek was both foreign and maddening. Nova had always carried her gift quietly, but it first surfaced in tragedy. She was only 13 when her grandfather, the one who taught her the old stories of the legends of Tribe of the Wolf she belonged to, they all belonged to. The Vilnaira means those bound by the vow of the moon. And how to listen to the forest, died in a car crash on the icy roads outside Ravenshade. The grief hit her like a storm. That night, she ran barefoot into the woods, the cold air cutting through her tears. And there, under a rising full moon, her pain broke something open inside her. Bones shifted, tendons stretched, and her cries turned into the soft, aching howl of a young wolf. Her fur was a light, silvery brown, like autumn leaves under morning frost, and her eyes glowed pale green, just like her grandfather. She remembered curling up by the river until sunrise, trembling but strangely at peace, as though his spirit had guided her through the change. From that day on, Nova carried both grief and power within her, a living echo of the man who taught her that the wild wasn't something to fear, it was part of who they were. In the early days, he resisted her teachings. She told him control wasn't about dominance, it was about surrender. That the wolf didn't need to be chained, only understood. But to Izek, surrender sounded too much like weakness. He'd seen what happened to those who hesitated. So he fought her words, clung to his anger, to his idea that power came from resisting the beast. And yet, Nova never gave up on him. She found him after every episode, every night he tore through the woods. She'd patch up his wounds, whisper stories of the old ways of wolves who lived in balance with the earth, not in defiance of it. Slowly, painfully, something in him began to shift. Over the years, she became his anchor. She showed him how to breathe through the surge of instincts, how to find stillness when the wolf clawed at his mind. Sometimes they'd sit in silence under the moonlight, her humming softly, his heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of her calm. To the pack, Nova was their light, gentle, nurturing, always smiling. But to Izek, she was more than that. She was the first person who looked at him and didn't see a weapon. The first who taught him that being a wolf didn't mean being a monster. Still, despite all her guidance, Izek never quite reached her level of peace. He admired her serenity but could never wear it the same way. He was fire, and she was water always tempering him, never extinguishing him. Their bond grew deep, like siblings bound by survival and shared scars. And even now, when Izek's temper threatened to break loose or guilt clawed at his chest, he often thought of Nova's voice, soft, unwavering, reminding him, "You can't heal if you keep fighting yourself, Izek." It was her kindness that shaped him into the leader he became, and her calmness that still lingered in the way he protected his pack, even if he could never quite master it himself. Nova lived with her grandparents, both old and kind, but heavy with silence. Her parents had divorced years before, when she was only 5, leaving her behind like a broken promise. She never spoke of them unless asked, and even then her answers were short. They live in the city. They don't come back. Izek moved between the forest and the edges of town, watching her from afar until she made him stop hiding. "You don't scare me," she said one summer evening, her feet dangling over the creek. "You should be scared," he'd replied quietly. "Of what?" she asked, smiling. You look like you need a friend, not a warning." From then on, they were inseparable. They grew together. They shared secrets, bruises, and stolen moments under moonlight. When he finally told her what he was, she didn't flinch. Instead, she said, "Then I guess I have to keep you human."